Okay, let's see where we are. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة الأبدية على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. We discussed about the number 18, which was removing the hair from the body. And today we are going to talk about one of the most encountered thing, which is like uh, covering the head. Remember, the after taking a shower, after taking the bath, we said if you want, if you want to do wudu, you see, you have to do you have to, like, you have water here, you want to do masah, you have to wipe it in a way that you are not covering the whole head in the area of masah. Or if you are going to really have distress with too much water in your head or something like that, and it's necessary to wipe, then you will wipe like that Madame Tussauds kind of thing or something like that, okay? Or Madame Tussauds or whatever they call her. So just like here, if it's going to cause harm. But for masah, even if it's not harm, because wudu will be invalid if you wipe on wet head. So you have to just do like a small minimum amount of masah, so that you are able to wipe the head after wudu. Otherwise, if it's going to cover even part of the head, it is not permissible. Um, and if for necessity purpose, it is, you can cover as much as required only, not more. So he says in ruling number 262, لا يجوز للرجل المحرم ستر رأسه. It is not permissible for a person who's in state of ihram to cover the head, like covering the head, like covering the head, kind of like, not like under the shade. The under the shade is different ruling. This is like covering the head, okay? So this is not permissible, like this also. So whatever ways, covering the head is not permissible for men. ستر الرأس للرجال لا يجوز للرجل المحرم. It is not permissible for a male muhrim person ستر رأسه, to cover the head, ولو جزء منه, even if it was partially part of it, even if it was covering a part of it. بالقناع, like say I'm going to wear like this, okay? um, no, you should not cover like a veil or a khimar. Khimar is like the ladies they wear. Okay, so this is khimar. Like you put the towel. Many times you see Hajjaj, they are feeling hot, scorchy sun, so they put their towel on their head. Especially scalps and bald people, they get burns, and it's like nowadays you see there's so many places when there's mid of summer, there are forest fires. So this guy, if really the heat gets more and more because of the global warming, the head will go on fire, metaphorically. Okay, or literally, God knows better. It depends on the type of the sun and global warming and the effects. بالقناع أو الخمار أو الثوب ونحوها, either by a veil or by a head cover or any dress and so on, or a dress and so on. So anything, just no covering. Okay, this is if these things are like fabric, like a cloth type of thing. Like veil is a kind of cloth type of thing. Khimar, head cover, is like a uh, 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 fabric thing. This is fabric. So you have to say the Sistani has preciseness with the narration. If the narration has mentioned these words as fabric objects, then he will stick to the fabric object. But what about if somebody wants to cover his head with the clay? Okay, it's hot. There's like there's wet clay and cool clay. Just put, because sometimes clay cool things down. Like, like before the refrigerators, once upon a time, they used to have pots made out of clay. They used to keep water inside, so it would prevent the sun, the heat of the sun, to make it hot. When I was young, we lived these times of pot. I don't know whether you are living now or not, because now it's all bottles and fridge and this and that. So this pot clay of pot of clay. Uh, so let's say you found nice cool clay, you just put on your head. No, don't cover your head with the clay on the basis of obligatory precaution. One should not, this muhrim person should not cover the head with clay, grass, or carry anything. Like, in Africa, when you go there, ladies and gents, they send banana on their basket on their head. So the first time I went to Africa, there was a lady, she's carrying the basket and she was going, Dizzy, Dizzy, Dizzy. I said, oh my goodness, she's going to fall down. Can someone help her? I said, why? Because she's carrying and she's dizzy, dizzy, dizzy. So no, dizzy means banana in African language. Oh my goodness. So then that's the first thing, first fruit I realized in Africa, because of that lady carrying this, and then there was a guy carrying and calling dizzy, dizzy, dizzy. So that was like a kind of first thing I learned about a fruit, that banana is called dizzy. So if you went to Africa and you see someone carrying basket and calling dizzy, 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 he's not complaining that it's very heavy on his head and he's feeling dizzy. No. So you cannot carry luggage on your head or anything else. So this is on the basis of obligatory precaution. Why? Because it is covering, but it is not covering with fabric, okay, with cloth type of material or any other thing. So that's why this will be the rule of thumb. That anything else which is not narrated and not fabric, say the Sistani, you will see, he will say obligatory precaution, obligatory precaution. Okay, so these items which are not from the fabric material, he considers them as an obligatory precaution. One should not cover their head with anything other than fabric material as well. لا بأس بوضع عصام القربة على الرأس عند حملها. See how specification. So if there is a narration, it has come to a specific area, then our fuqaha and maraja, they try to limit their fatwa to that specificity. They don't want to go beyond, because that's where our general rules of Islamic jurisprudence comes, or the principles of Islamic jurisprudence. So we cannot extend the haram which is narrated in the narration, haram object, to something which is similar. Otherwise, it will be qiyas. It will be uh, um, forbidden or prohibited analogy, to measure things by things. Because if I the qirba, the water bag. So the ruling says there's no problem in placing the strap of the water bag. Okay, the strap of the water bag on the head, because the water bag is heavy, you see. So they keep the strap on the head, and behind them, I've seen this in many countries, like in Pakistan, or they used to have like cow skin. They make water bag, because they did not have tankers those days. They used to have these people getting water from the well, filling it in this cow skin, the size of the cow, okay, and then they will carry it with them, or size of the goat. So there were some small, there were some big. I think most of the ones which I said was big goats, water skins, six skin water bags. So it will be heavy. So they will put the strap on the head to support the water, because the back, the neck, they might have some back injury, neck injury, because of the weight. But head could hold the water bag. So the strap of the, it's covering the head, part of the head. He says that is no problem with it. Because these people, they come and serve water, bring water in those days. Okay. So now could I take this away and extend it on my carry-on bag, which has a strap? So he will say it is obligatory precaution to avoid. Why? Because if a narration has mentioned the strap of a water bag, so we need to stick to that. Why? Because if we start stretching the rulings of prohibition or obligation based on the analogy of similarity, then you are opening a wormhole or a portal of black hole or whatever, endless things. I'll give you an example. The wine is haram. Now, if you are going to use the analogy of similarity, okay, then grape juice is going to be prohibited as well. Why? Because the color, they're same color, but this is not intoxicated. Yeah, but Prophet said grape wine. Okay, so grape wine means there's a grape. So grape juice haram. I mean, no, even the Sunnis, they've used this methodology, they don't do it. But then that will be double standards. Why? Because, I mean, this is an academic discussion. Why? Because why you're limiting some things and stretching some things? So that means there comes the selective ijtihad of them. But if you use it in one standard, once the wine, grape wine is haram, so what does grape wine has? Has color. Anything similar to its color, haram. And it has the taste. Anything similar to its taste, haram, even if it's not intoxicated. And then it has the grape source. Anything sourced with grape, haram. You could open a lot of doors in qiyas, analogy of similarity. Okay, so that's why our Aimma alayhi salatu wasalam, they restricted wajib is wajib as it is narrated. You cannot stretch the wajib and you cannot stretch the haram to other things unless if the criteria has been presented. So nas, that is called analogy of the text, analogy based on text. للقياس المنصوص بعلة. So what does al-qiyas al-mansus bi'illah means? Al-qiyas, the qiyas, the analogies of similarity which has been narrated, the criteria has been narrated by imams. Like for example, what? So I gave you an example of endless qiyas. I'll give you an example. The narration, kullu muskirin khamar, every intoxicating agent is khamar, wine. Every intoxicating agent has the rule of khamr. That means anything which is intoxicating, be it grape wine, be it this wine, that wine, every intoxicating agent. Why? I'm putting the similarity based similarity of point of aspect of intoxication is taken into consideration. Why? Because it has been narrated. That aspect has been narrated. So without any aspect, narrated aspect, I cannot use analogy of similarity. Okay. Because if something is narrated in the text, we need to be very specific. We cannot make things haram. Otherwise, we are going to make things haram without knowledge. So that's why if things are not narrated or narrated by unauthentic narrations or weak narrations, what they do it ihtiyat wajib. Okay, precautionary measure, we can use it, but we cannot give fatwa. Fatwa should be based on knowledge. So man afta bighayri ilm, whoever gives fatwa without knowledge should choose his place in hellfire. فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. You see? So therefore, choosing a fatwa or giving a fatwa without a solid base of knowledge is going to take the mujtahid and marja or anyone in a place of hellfire. So our maraja, they're God-loving, God-cautious, pious. So they don't want to give fatwa. They're very scared to give fatwa of wajib and haram. They try to avoid. So unless if they don't have strong, concrete evidence to make something wajib, make something haram, they will avoid. If they are like not feeling to avoid keeping it halal, they will plug it with the obligatory precaution. Like what? I'm hesitant. I don't know. I don't want to let it go. I don't want to even give fatwa. If I give fatwa and I'm hesitating, I don't have knowledge, I have shak, I'll be in trouble on the day of judgment. If I give, if I go ahead and let it go, what if the narration has some strength in it? Yes, then one narrator is weak, but there's kind of strength. Scholars, they use this. So that's why he doesn't want to give fatwa, because scholars used and it's not strong. He doesn't want to let it go. He's afraid on the day of judgment of consequences of both sides, the day of judgment. To give fatwa, problem, because if the narration is weak. To not to give fatwa, let's say it had strength in it, there is a problem. Why didn't you give fatwa? You had an evidence. So hesitation causes the marja to plug it with ihtiyat wajib. What does it tell you in ihtiyat wajib? If you want to follow my words, do precaution. But if you really want to get out of precaution, find someone else. I don't want to take the responsibility of that flexibility and permissibility. So you see, so this preciseness is when we are going to see the laws. It's okay. My handbag has a strap. Okay, why can't I put that strap on my head if I can put? Yeah, many people they ask. It doesn't make any sense. Well, when our imams they gave us some specifics, we need to stick to those specifics and let other than specific things be flexible. Okay, flexibility be there. So here, what happens? No, just the qirba is allowed, because you're not allowed to cover your head with the strap. Okay, with part, even partially. So if this has been exempted, they say leave the exemptions the way it has been narrated and don't go beyond it. Okay, in nas, whatever has been presented in the nas, in the text, in the narration, it needs to be limited to its wordings. Okay, we cannot stretch it. No, we have to, because Imam alayhi salam knew what's coming in future. Allah knows what's coming in future. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been given the knowledge of, because it's a sharia for the eternal sharia until the day of judgment. It is absurd to say that the words of the Prophets sallallahu alaihi wasallam are not applicable today. Yes, the ones which are related to the horse and those things like this water bag might not be applicable, but maybe somebody might have this water bag, okay, and he's carrying with him his water of ghusl janaba. He has this bala of every time he goes somewhere. He has, like we had some people there. There was a brother, every day he had to do ghusl janaba. So he was afraid in Arafat. So what happened in Makkah? Like 1 week he didn't have. On the day of Arafat, precisely, he got this. So maybe he's afraid that let me carry my. I'm just saying, just
Hi.
metaphorically. Someone's unmuted. Okay, so therefore, it is very important to understand the process of deriving. Your Hausa students, you need to know this concept. Whatever has been narrated should be specifically as a narration. Unless if we have five narrations giving us five different examples, like one narration says strap, one narration said like carrying a baby, or this is sack. Kindly turn off your speaker, please. Whoever speaker is on. Okay. So because I can't see whose speaker is on and off. So therefore, so basically, again, rule of Hausa, whenever a narration is specific, in a specific zone, in a specific thing, we need to keep it in that specific, not to stretch it beyond. If we stretch it beyond without any criteria to stretch from the narrations, we are committing forbidden, prohibited qiyas. We come to what is tanqih al-manat? Remember this word, tanqih al-manat. I take out tanqih al-manat is deriving a criteria. Can't I take out a criteria from this that anything which is to be held has a strap, I can put it? No. If there's only one narration mentioning and a very specific, we need to stick it to whatever has been mentioned narration. Tanqih al-manat, if you have several narrations giving the example, and you can understand the tariqiyya from it, you can understand the tariqiyya from it, then you can derive the criteria from it. For example, a narration said you can carry a water bag strap on the head, put the head. A narration said they used to carry babies in a kind of cloth, okay, and then it's heavy, put the strap. Seller of the fruit is carrying a basket and the strap is on the head. Narrations exempted these people, 4 or 5 types of people. Here, some ulamas, they will come and they will see the criteria is carrying heavy load and strap, carrying heavy load and strap, carrying heavy load and strap. Then they will derive a criteria. This is called tanqih, like deriving something, like sifting, okay? Sifting from all these narrations, we can come up with one conclusion. Carrying from narrations, not one narration, narrations. That is called tanqih al-manat. Because someone asked me that what is tanqih al-manat? Isn't tanqih al-manat qiyas? We are using these 5 examples which are narrated in the text and we are applying it on things which are not narrated. No. That if one narration with specific thing, with specific condition comes and it opposes the general rule, then we cannot take out tanqih al-manat. However, if there are several narrations, that means that gives us an indication of flexibility in the rule, general rule. That means if something needs to be carried and it has a strap, then you can put it on the head and there's no kafara, no nothing. So you understood this. I'll give you another example where people, they say tanqih al-manat slash an-nas, like takhsis an-nas. So for example, zakat. Zakat, the Prophet ﷺ narrated 9 things zakat is on it. 9 things. Among them, there's silver and gold. The condition of the silver and gold, they are coins, they are used in buying and selling. So it's used in what? Because those days they did not have paper currency, they did not have credit cards. So I want to buy something from you, I will give you a pouch of gold, this many, and I'll get a camel from you. So this was the method there. So the Prophet specifically mentioned gold and silver. So why I have gold? A woman says, I have gold given to me in meher. Is there zakat on it? I ask them, are these coins? They say, yes. Are these used in buying and selling? She said, no. I mean, if I go to the grocery and give them a coin, they will laugh at me. Where are you coming from? From which era, which age you are coming from? Okay. Yeah, you can exchange it in exchange your coin in gold shop or forex or something like that. If they do and they give you money, like you are selling dollar and getting tuman or getting dinar or getting dirham or getting riyal. So some maraja can consider like that. But this is a very specification. Gold, which is used in exchange, buying and selling. What does that mean? That means, what about paper note? Nowadays, we are using paper note. Based on qiyas, if the criteria was buying and selling only, then yes, we need to see the narration which has given that criteria. But the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the criteria buying and selling gold, silvers, which you use to buy and sell gold and silver coins. So it was very specific in gold and silver. Oh, they did not have anything else. Why? They had bronze coins. They had different type of metal coins. Okay, it's not that they did not have coins, but the Prophet ﷺ made specific on gold coins. Okay, so buying and selling gold coins. So another person comes, no, but these are same. No, these are not same. If you have a €1 bill, you cut it, okay, it's gone. Let's say you cut it and lost. and you go to the grocery and give him $50, $50, or €50, £1, half a, so what will he say? No, what are you doing? Go and bring me a full dollar full. But when you take this gold coin and you clip it, that small amount of gold, you can go and sell it in a gold shop and you can get some money out of it. Pure gold. So there is a difference between gold coin and paper notes. If Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, whatever you use to buy and sell, zakat is on it, then we would say, okay, the criteria is given, whatever. But the Prophet was very specific on gold and silver coin. So I can't stretch the rule. That will be qiyas, that will be using analogy of similarity with the variances. Qiyas ma'al fariq. There are variances between gold and paper. So therefore, school of Ahl al-Bayt alayhi salatu was very strict in these criteria, because you'll be opening the door wide. So that's why those women who have gold for meher or gift given to them in wedding, it may have khums, but it's meher. Meher has no khums. So what about zakat? If it's not used for buying and selling, that British pound or Syrian lira or those kind of things, then you cannot, you don't have to pay zakat on it. So that is why when we see this trap, there, if there is that tanqih al-manat, you would have seen Sayyidi Sistani would have said, anything which you carry and has a strap, it is permissible. But he did not say like that. He's sticking to what, so whatever exemptions are there from this ruling of allowing to cover the head, those exemptions are narrated. So he says, Naam. However, there is no harm, there is no problem in putting the strap of the water bag on the head when you carry. So when you're sitting, no, take the strap away from your head. Or before you sit, just take that away. Because when you are carrying, so that carrying is, so you are sitting and the strap is on your head and the water bag you are relying as a pillow behind you. No, Baba. Remove the strap. You can use that as a pillow, but remove the strap because you are now not carrying the bag. وكذا لا بأس. Similarly, there is no problem بتعصيبه بالمنديل. You know, handkerchief, whenever they headache, people they uh, tie tie their head, tighten it to relieve the headache or to reduce it. So وكذا لا بأس بتعصيبه. There is no problem in tying in a handkerchief around the head, ونحوه, or anything similar to it. Okay, let's say you have elastic band. It's to squeeze the headache. Anything, band, whatever, for the headache. لمرض كالصداع. So there is an exemption for putting a strap on the head to relieve the headache or any disease. Any disease, like there's a disease here, you want to cover it. There's an injury, you want to cover it. So anything for the medical purpose. والمراد بالرأس هنا. Okay, Sayyidina, what is head? Now we have been hearing head, 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 head. And we heard that telephone cannot be, is telephone considered head? So in the rulings of Manasik al-Hajj, المراد بالرأس هنا منبت الشعر ويلحق به الأذنان على الأقراب. So منبت الشعر means where the hair grows. But I am bald. That means, can I cover? No. It's the potential area. You had hair or hair can be grown. What is the area where normally an average person grows hair? So that area is part one. Part two, the ears. So ويلحق به الأذنان على الأقرب. So there is a قول قريب, that the closest fatwa to some maraja, that ears are not considered from the head in the rulings of Manasik al-Hajj. Say this Sistan says, more stronger to me or more closest to me from the evidences or from the deduction, for me, more closer is, or more closest is, to consider the ears from the head. ويلحق, and the both ears are to be taken into consideration as part of the head, most close, most like closest in the deriving, or in the ijtihad, in demonstrative jurisprudence. Okay, so yeah, so according to me, the most closest, or most closest opinion is that the heads are to be covered, because there's a fatwa and there's a fatwa from different ulama. Some said cover the ears, some said not. So the closest to me is the ones who said cover it as a fatwa. It's not even obligatory precaution. So here comes the cell phone. So if you put cell phone on the ear like this, not acceptable. However, if it is not going to cover the ear like this, the earphone. It's not that I'm doing advertisement for that is okay. But if it's big, no, there's a problem. So this is a small, tiny thingy. Okay, and there's also a earbud, small, very small earbuds. So there's no problem in that. Yes. Ruling number 263. يجوز ستر الرأس بشيء من البدن كاليد والأولى تركه. It is permissible to cover the head with some parts of the body. Some parts of the body. How will I cover my head with some parts of the body? Like with my feet or with my leg, or covering my head in between my knees, something like that. When I feel cold, I cover it in between my knees or something like this. Must be a gymnastic person where his head goes everywhere. So anyhow, so basically, يجوز ستر الرأس بشيء من البدن. But Sayyidina, can you be more precise? Give us an example. كاليد, by hand. So Sayyidina, why didn't you just say hand? Because the narration says badan. Maybe somebody will bring his leg here or something like that, like the way they do in gymnastic. He's tired in walking and he wants to do some tai chi or mai chi exercises, and he will put his leg here and leg here. So he'll be covering. So it's precise, you see. So the text came like badan. So hand is part of the badan. So it's an example. uh, yeah, so it is permissible to cover the head with some parts of the body, such as hand, and as a recommended precaution, one should avoid it. Ruling number 264. لا يجوز للمحرم رمس تمام رأسه في الماء. So this narration of the immersing the head in the water has been narrated for two kind of people. One is fasting person. A fasting person should not immerse his head under the water. And Sayyid al-Khuy Quddus Sirruh had a problem in that narration. And I think even Sayyid Sistani allows it for fasting person. However, in the narration of the Hajj, he sticks to it. Narration of the ihram, state of ihram. You cannot dip your head under the water. Let's say you are muhrim and it's feeling sweaty and you are going from Masjid al-Shajara to Makkah and on the camel or walk or mashi. So what happens? You find a nice oasis, because there's so many oases there in Saudi, and some are in the way of from Makkah to Medina. Nice oasis. You said, wow, you'll just go dip down, Geronimo. And then, whoopsie daisy, the head is covered. So, immersed in the water totally. So, you should not immerse, not even that. Even let's say without the body, you have a pan full of water and you totally immerse your head inside it. Okay. Especially the head, which is this area. You totally put it inside it. So that is considered immersing the head. What about shower? Shower is not immersing. Yes, if you have a huge pipe of water coming from the source and you stand underneath it with the column of water, that is immersing the head. But if it is just showering, like sprinkles of water coming out, even if they are forcefully, even there are plenty, it is not considering immersing, because you are just sprinkling water on your head and you're not immersing. The whole head is not covered. Yes, if If the shower was some places I saw this big like a clock type of showering thing, and the water comes out like a, so if the amount of the water is in a way it's forcefully coming and it covers the total head and from top to bottom like all this area, then obviously that is immersing the head. So لا يجوز المحرم رمس تمام رأسه في الماء, in the water. Here is also specification. What if in the rules of fasting they mention, what if it was orange juice? What if it was water with shampoo? What if it, all these are allowed? Mudaf, mixed water. But here, because the narration mentioned the water, very specific. So لا يجوز المحرم رمس تمام رأسه في الماء. Okay. What about Sayyidina? What about other than water? So, وَكَذَلِكَ فِي غَيْرِ الْمَاءِ عَلَى الْأَحْوَطِ لُزُومًا. And similar rule applies to other than water on the basis of obligatory precaution. So that means there may be some narration or some indication where some of the fuqaha, they must have just applied the rule on every liquid. But say the Sistani and the more contemporary Maraja, they want to be very specific in the rules in according to the specification mentioned in the. They say Imam mentioned water, the alayhi salam. If he wanted other than water, he would have mentioned one should not immerse his head in liquid. Weren't there any liquid in the time of Imam? You're telling me, oh, this was old time. No, Baba. There was milk, there was juice, there were so many things. They used to make the pomegranate juice. Used to make juice. They used to make yogurt milk, lemon milk, everything. They used to have liquids other than water. So that's why if Imam intended a liquid, he would have said Muhrim should not immerse his head in liquid. But he did not say liquid. He said ma, water. So that means there is a specification. So we have to limit ourselves on the fatwa level to specification. But say the Sistani say on non-water things, non-liquid, he said on the basis of obligatory precaution. Okay, Sayyidina. What about men and women? They both, it's prohibited for both of them, or it is just like for men? وَالظَّاهِرْ, apparently, it is apparent, that means narration. So apparent means there's a text. Whenever you say zahir, that means zahir batin. And this word comes from mostly from the apparent meaning of the text or unapparent meaning. So zahir, it is apparent. أنه لا فرق في ذلك بين الرجل والمرأة. There is no difference in that between male and female, between men and women. والمقصود بالرأس هنا ما فوق الرقبة بتمامها. Here the head is different. Subhanallah. The specifications according to the narration. We said covering the head, hair, where the hair grows potentially, and the ear. Here he says until the neck. Why? That is head. This is head. Because the narration has specified here different uh, different limits of head than there. Even the hand. This is whole hand from the elbow, from the shoulder to the finger. But you will see in rules of burglary, this is hand. In tayammum, this is hand. In wudu, this is hand. Okay. So hand have limits. Head has limits. We have to see what are the limits. If the limits are not clear, so we go to the minimum of whatever is considered done. Like in masah. Allah did not say wipe your head with finger or with hand or what. He said wipe it. Okay. Wipe it. So if I do like this, it's wiped. If I do like this, it's wipe, finish. So whenever the limits are not known, we take the minimum of it. Minimum of mash is like this. Our Sunni fellows, they took the whole head. They took the maximum. They do something like that. You say even the ears. Remember, if you feel why ears, because we have also in the covering the head ruling, the ears are part of the head. So they do like they include the ears I don't know precisely how did they do it. You need to, because I've seen them, but I forgot precisely because I do my wudu focus, but sometimes the eyes goes here and there. You see how our Muslim fellows, they do their wudu to see the similarities and disparities. So we respect all our human fellows, be it a Sunni or a Christian or whatever. But these are academic discussions like the variances and disparities. So therefore, we have the head. So the head in the mash al-ras is different than the head in the immersing of the head. So like the covering the head and immersing the head. Covering the head, the above portion and the ears. Immersing the head, the whole thing from the head, top of the head till the neck. So it says, وَالْمَقْصُودُ بِالرَّأْسِ هُنَا. And what is meant by the head here, مَا فَوْقَ الرَّقَبَةِ بِتَمَامِهِ. Whatever is above the neck, entire of it, all of it. Okay. So, Sayyidina, khalas, now we know the ruling. So, can you tell us the kafara? Now we are worried about kafara. We have used cell phone, we have used a lot of things. You see, we have covered the head. So he says, إذا ستر المحرم رأسه فكفارة شاة. If a muhrim person covers the head, okay, the penalty is a sheep on the basis of obligatory precaution. على الأحوط وجوبا. والظاهر عدم وجوب الكفارة في موارد جواز الستر والاضطرار. And it is apparent that there is no obligation on no obligation of penalty in the areas of exemption, and which are two areas of exemption: the permissibility narrated, the permissibility, and the necessity. Whenever you have these two, but permissibility is not necessity, like putting the strap on the head, the water bag. It's not necessary for me maybe to take the water somewhere. Okay? No. Because the guy is also working there. For example, water was needed in Arafat, Muzdalif, they're out. The guy had a water bag he brought with him. He went and brought the water bag. So, okay, this can be considered necessity. Let's say optionally. So optionally, like putting a strap on the head to carry the water bag. This is an exemption narrated. This is one. Anything else out of necessity. So what was the necessity? Necessity was putting the strap, a handkerchief around the head for the purpose of reducing the pain, or any medicational purpose, medicational issue, any necessity. Okay. Luggage is very heavy. If I can't, my hands are hurting. So you put your handbag on your head, necessity. So, so if you do it for the exempt areas or for the necessity, there's no penalty. And remember, in the beginning also we said a general rule: if you do it out of unawareness, unintentionally, deliberately, there is no penalty. Unknowingly, unawareness, unintentionally, and not deliberately, all these areas we said in the beginning, only two things: the oil and the hair, falling of the hair. In this case it was unintentional as well, penalty, but it was a small penalty. But here, so there are three areas we can say there's no penalty. Number one, the general rule: unknowingly, forgetful, out of forgetfulness, unintentionally. Number two, the permissibility narrated, which was the water bag strap. Number three, any necessity. Okay, so these are the theme of the covering the head. Now let's take the rulings. Now, since you know the general idea, so these questions and answers are applications. So he says, what about the mask? هل يجوز تغطية جزء ضئيل? If small portion is covered from the head, okay, or the ear, can it be, is it permissible? Like what? Like the mask, COVID time, or for the purpose of the pollution or medical person. So you put a mask that the thread covers where? your ear, or the thread covers the hair area behind. Okay, so it's covering part of the head, but this is a very minute part of the head, very small, minimum, very small amount of covering of the head. So he says, يجوز في مثل الخيط الرفيع. It is permissible if the thread of the mask was thin. But if it was a strap, no. So thin thread, no problem. Because some masks might have a strap all the way till behind. Mask with a elastic strap. So that could be covering the head or ear. Number two, عدم جواسة بعض الرأس كالمحو في What about the wudu? He says, if a person was going to perform wudu and he needs to do wiping on the head, and he has to dry this out. Okay, so he says you can just so he says like عدم جواز ستر بعض المحرم كما في التجفيف. هل so here this is for wudu is exemption, but this question is generally not for wudu. عدم جواز ستر بعض الرأس للمحرم كما في التجفيف للوضوء. هل هو فتوى واحتياط لزومي. He says one cannot use the towel, okay, to wipe the head even for the wudu. He says it is fatwa or ihtiyat wajib. He says it's fatwa. The narration text indicated. So Sayyidina, how will we do wudu? He says, however, the prohibition, نعم حرمة التجفيف بطرف المنديل على نحو المسح والإمرار تبتني على الاحتياط. So if you are to wipe your head with a portion of the handkerchief, not the entire. The entire is fatwa. Even for wudu you cannot. But what about for masah, for wudu, and using a small portion? He says this is based on precautionary measures to avoid. Okay, not fatwa. For small portion, with small portion of handkerchief, with for the masah wal imraru. So نعم حرمة التجفيف بطرف المنديل على نحو المسح والإمرار تبتني على الاحتياط. You say the prohibition of wiping, drying you drying the head, portion of the head, using the portion of the handkerchief in a way that it is considered wiping. You're passing it over. Then this should be avoided. So passing over the handkerchief, not allowed on the basis of precaution. However, if you just not pass, just do it like this, because you have to do wudu. So even that Madame Tussauds type of thing, to say the Sistani, it is obligatory or it is precautionary measure to avoid. He doesn't mention obligatory precaution or recommended precaution, but to passing over, because when you pass over, you are covering extra part of your head. So can a person use a cell phone? He says it's permissible to use cell phone, but he should not place the headset on the ear on the basis of obligatory precaution. وَأَمَّا جَعْلَهَا قَرِيب, and as for keeping it closer to head, to the head or to the ears, in a way, to the ears in a way that it is not covering it, there is no problem. So you can talk like this, speaker, putting on speaker or making the volume high so that you don't have to put it on the head. And anyhow, health hazard is there also, that the more cell phone is closer to your brain, the more your brain is frying faster and faster. So it's always good to keep the cell phones away, especially this 4G and 5G. The more they get G, the more your brain is getting tired. So on the, this is same ruling. هل يجوز للمحرم وضع سماعة التليفون على محل إشكال. He said putting the headset on the ear is problematic. Okay, on the basis of legal. Then we have number 5. هل يجوز للمحرم أن ينشف رأسه بالمنديل ونحوه. Is it permissible for a muhrim person to dry his head with handkerchief or similar to it? He says لا يجوز وإن كان بنحو المسح والإمرار على الأحوط. Even if it was in the scenario of wiping, like you're wiping and passing it over, wiping and passing it over. Okay, even that is not permissible for say the Sistani. Yeah, وإن كان on the basis of obligatory precaution. Okay, وإن كان بنحو المسح والإمرار على الأحوط. This is, he's talking general. There is a specific rule for wudu. Number 6. What about the external, what they say, the earpods and that ear headsets? What about those wireless headsets? السماعة الخارجية لجهاز الهاتف التي توضع في داخل الأذن. The external headset which are kept inside the ear, and they are connected with the cell phone through wire or without wire, wireless or wired. هل حكم حكم السماعة الداخلية? Does the rule of the original headset apply on it? Because you considered that there was a problem in original headset covering the ear. He says لا بأس باستعمالها للمحرم. There is no problem in the headsets to be used by the muhrim, the ear pads, the earpods. Okay, earbuds, whatever they call. التي استشكلتم. In case if I have said it wrong. So we're talking about this thingy. Wired or wireless? I have wireless somewhere, but I think you got the idea. Yeah, this is wireless. So wired or wireless, there's no problem as long as it says that it is إذا كانت لا تغطي إلا جزءا يسيرا من داخل الأذن. If it is going to only cover a small portion inside the ear. Okay, it's not going to cover the whole ear, small portion of inside the ear. And then he says that in question ruling number 7, هل يجوز المحرم أن يسند رأسه إلى المتكئ? Is it permissible for a person to put a pillow? Remember pillow or those medicated pillows or whatever, where you recline and your head behind is covered. You are covering your head, or the bus seat or the car seat or the plane seat, or this is covering your head from behind. Okay, تغطية بمقعدي في السيارة بحيث تحصل تغطية الربع الخلفي, in a way that 1/4 of the head from behind will be covered. أو أحد الجانبين, or he's sleeping like this in the bus, or he's sleeping like this in the bus or plane or on a pillow or something like that. So these are all covering the ears for a muhrim. So can a muhrim person do that? A male person, obviously. Female, it's okay. Either right side or left side. He says it's permissible. Now he said it's permissible. That means there is an exemption in the narration, that if a person was sleeping, there's no problem. If a person was sitting and reclining on a couch or something like that, which covers part of his head, no problem. So number 8, هل يجوز المحرم أن يضع رأسه على الوسادة, putting the head on the pillow? Is it permissible or not? And it's definitely going to cover some part of the head. He says it's permissible. He says in Manasik al-Hajj, you said that it is permissible to put the handkerchief around the head to tie it for the disease and somehow. Is it considered the middle of the head, or the even like is it هل يشمل التعصيب تغطية وسط الرأس أو خاص بالجوانب, or this side, covering with the handkerchief. He says العبرة في التعصيب بالشد وإن كان بما يغطي وسط الرأس. It doesn't like وسط الرأس is this is the middle of the head. So the question was it like to cover the sides of the head, like sides of the head, or even cover the whole? Let me see if I have a handkerchief. If I don't have, I'll cover it with this whole handkerchief. So I covered the whole. I need a bigger thing. So if I have a bigger thing, a bigger handkerchief, okay. So so I'm going to cover the bigger handkerchief and tie it down. So therefore, تبي okay. يلا. Okay. Anyhow, handkerchief is big enough to cover the head and then tie it, because I've seen some people they make those caps out of handkerchief for going to the salat, because it's recommended to cover the head with this kind of things, okay, for the salat. So what they do, some of them, they don't get this, they put it on the head and they tie the sides of the handkerchief in a way that it becomes tied totally. So handkerchief, the question here is middle of the head or the sides. When I'm covering like this, the handkerchief, I roll it and make it a strap, then I'm covering the sides. If it says middle of the head, this is the middle of the head. So covering the middle of the head per sides. So the question is it the covering, the permissibility of covering the head with the handkerchief due to sickness is uh, limited to only the sides, or it is inclusive to the middle of the head? He says al-ibra fi at-ta'sib bish-shadd. That means you cover by tying it, because it's a sickness situation, okay, disease situation, problem, injury, whatever. So tighten it, so that tightening the handkerchief. So it's very specification with the narration. Tightening with the handkerchief. وإن كان بما يغطي وسط الرأس, even if it was covering the middle of the head. So not only side, even if the middle of the head was covered, that's no problem. Okay. So tightening the head with the handkerchief to relieve the pain or for any other sicknesses, even if it was covering the middle of the head. So though you will say, but it is against, that's the exemption we got from the narrations. Okay. Ruling number 9. Let's see how many we have. Okay. Yeah, so this is our final questions. So just bear with me. I'll need some 5 minutes because we know the rule. So these are some applications of of the the rule. Let's see. So the questions are Satr al-Ras. Okay. Yeah. So question number 9 talks about ورد في المناسك أنه لا بأس المحرم. Again, the handkerchief tying for the sickness. هل يشمل تغطية وسط? We said this one. This was ruling number 9. Why is it repeated? Let me see. Yeah, we explained this. The ruling number 10. Same thing about handkerchief. And again, he says that, is it necessary to keep the middle of the head uncovered and just tie the sides? Okay. So he says, if it is not necessary, if he is not compelled to cover the middle of the head, then he should not cover the middle of the head. إذا لم يضطر إلى ستر وسط. We said for this disease sickness purpose, the middle of the head and the side, they're all covered. But he says in this answer, if there's no problem in the middle of the head, if it was not a case of necessary or necessity to cover the middle of the head, then it would not be permissible for him to do so. And if he does that intentionally, deliberately, then there will be a penalty on the basis of obligatory precaution. What about ruling number 11? Okay. إذا كان برأس المحرم صلع. There was he was bald. أو تشويه يخجل من كشفه. Or there is a kind of distortion in his bald, scratches, or like signs of beaten, or like a bulge. Somebody beat him and a bulge came, like Tom and Jerry kind of situation. Something like that. Okay. Is in his head, and he's embarrassed seriously from showing his head to other people. Some people might laugh, some people might. It's not like even when we were kids, people in our children in our school, uh, in that era before, like 50, 60 years, being bald was something people would laugh. So the youngsters and those people, like kids, they would laugh on a bald person because people were hairy berry at that time. Mashallah, the hair did not have chemical in it, the water did not have chemical. Now, because of the chemical and shampoos and this, majority of the people you see they're bald. So that the aspect of embarrassment is gone. But when we were in the kids, when we were in the school, when we were kids, so there was always parents meeting. So the children, my friends whose parents will be bald, they say my father is not going to come. I will not. I didn't tell him to come. I said, why? He said, because he's bald. I mean, once he comes and people, these guys will see he's bald, they will laugh. I said, so therefore, and really, when some of them, they will see somebody's father is bald, and they'll speak to each other, and they will laugh, and oh, look at the guy is bald, not like bald. So anyhow, that was the time of Jahiliyyah, or time of less people being bald. Now being bald has become fashion. And if you don't have bald, many people, they shave off their entire head just to show the beauty of the head. Anyhow, so let's say the guy has problem in his head and he's embarrassed to show. So وسط أو تشويه يخجل من كشفه، فهل يجوز له تغطيته? Is it permissible for him to cover it? وهل عليه شيء في ذلك? And will there be any penalty on him? الجواب, the ruling, question number 11, the answer: إذا كان كشفه حرجيا عليه بالحد الرافع للتكليف جاز له ستره بما لا يعد من الثياب. So here comes the word fabric, clothing. If it was seriously embarrassing, not normal embarrassment, nor seriously embarrassment, like a guy, his ihram falls down, for example, or a guy, he's wearing underwear, but he's wearing pant, so his pant falls down. So that kind of thing is, there's nothing, he's wearing his underwear like until the knees, but his pant fell down. But he feels embarrassed, serious embarrassment being in public, and his pant is down, and he's with his home shorts until the knees, for example. So it's until the knees. It's not like brief or something like that. That very short ones. No. So this is a kind of embarrassment. So it's not necessarily very serious embarrassment like becoming naked. No, like embarrassment in a way it is intolerable. Okay. So he says that إذا كان كشفه حرجيا, if revealing the head was going to cause an embarrassment to the limit, like it would be serious embarrassment, which would allow him, which would really which will be which would be the limit of relieving the responsibility from him, responsibility of not covering, like it was seriously embarrassment in a way. It's intolerable. Sometimes he feels like um, being raped or something like that. There are people, they have this kind of notion. So yeah, I mean, that's respected. If people, they have the variances of way of feeling embarrassment. Some people are Tarzan. If the ihram drop downs, they would be, for example, happy. Wow, alhamdulillah, people are watching or something like that. Or no, some people, even to show the hand, it's very embarrassing for them. So people are variances. So if anyone, any type of revealing the head is going to be embarrassing, seriously embarrassing, in a way that embarrassment causes the responsibility to be removed. Then what will happen? Then jaza lahu satruhu. Then it will be permissible for him. So if the revealing was seriously embarrassing, revealing of the head was seriously embarrassing, to the limit that limit relieves the responsibility from a person, then it would be permissible for him to cover with whatever is not considered cloth material. Remember, covering the head with cloth, fatwa, covering the head with not cloth, like plastic, like any other thing, like wig, whatever, is obligatory precaution. ولا كفارة عليه على الأظهر. There is no kafara. Some might have said apparently there should be kafara because he covered the head. Say this instance is more apparent from evidences to me, there is no kafara, there is no penalty on him. وإلا, otherwise, if the embarrassment was not serious, لم يجوز, it will not be permissible. ولو فعل ذلك لزمته كفارة دم شاة على الأحوط. And if he does that, then it will be necessary for him to pay the penalty of sheep on the basis of obligatory precaution. Okay, so this is understood hopefully. I mean, he can put a wig, but not a fancy decorated wig. No, wig like like you have seen a film of vampire or Dracula or horror movie, like not even like the hair is stood like you have eaten banana or something like that. But anyhow, it's just like a normal hair wig, which is not considered fabric, which is not considered cloth. The wig doesn't have under fabric. It just has a very small kind of nylon net or plastic net or something like that, as I've seen in some of the wigs. Okay, so إذا أحرم الرجل. Okay, talking about wig, here we come. Question number 12. If a person, a man, enters the state of ihram and he has wig, artificial hair on his head due to the necessity mentioned in the previous question, or without any necessity. So what is the ruling? He says, إذا كان لضرورة, if it is out of necessity, then there is no penalty on him. Otherwise, he will have to pay penalty on the basis of obligatory precaution. Yeah, here we come to the wudu area. إذا كان على المحرم إذا كان على رأس المحرم بلل. Okay, if there was, look at the necessity case narrowed down all the way to the end time. إذا كان على رأس المحرم بلل, there was wetness on the head of the muhrim. والوقت ضيق, because if it's wetness, we'll say stay until dry. Don't use this to dry on the basis of obligatory precaution. But let's say now the time is short, because say these instances you cannot wipe it even like Madame to say, to sew or whatever. Okay, like pieces of it. For Sayyidul Sistani, it's obligatory precaution even for mask. So what shouldn't I not pray? Khalas, I'm exempt. Yay, kind of many of them I say, no. You wait until it dries by itself and then do your wudu. Okay. How if the time is short? إذا كان على المحرم بلل والوقت ضيق ولا يمكن تنشيفه إلا بمنشفة أو منديل فما هو تكليفه? If the time is narrowed, don't tell me wait until the hair gets dried by itself. No, the time is narrowed. I need to pray. There's water in my head. Just I came out of the ghusl. Why didn't you pray before? Well, before I had sweat on my head. I was waiting until the sweat goes. It did not go. Now I washed the sweat. So now I have water on my head. I'm creating a scenario so that it's an ironclad ruling here. So no room for excuse. I mean, khalas, I need to now pray, and I was not able to pray, and I was not able to dry my head. Now what should I do? He said, now since the time is short for Salat al-Dhuhr, Asr, it will become Qadha, or for Fajr, the sun will rise, or the Maghrib, the Fajr will enter. For the traveler, the limit of Maghrib is until Fajr, Maghrib and Isha. So he says, يأخذ طرف المنديل. This is where the time is short also. He takes part of the handkerchief, okay, أو المنشفة, or a towel. وينشف من رأسي بمقدار ما يجزي مسحه. Little bit amount, he will try to wipe it, okay, dry it out. So enough amount to do the masah. Question number 14, same ruling, but he has now sweat on his head. Either if a muhrim person used to sweat a lot, is a sweaty guy, بحيث انه if he dries his head and he does starts doing wudu, the sweat does not stop. Again, the sweat is piled up on his head before the masah, before wiping the head. Is it permissible for him to wipe out his sweat with the handkerchief? He says the scenario you have kept, you don't leave any room for me to say no. So لا مانع في مفروض, because you'll say shortage of the time. Baba, my head is like sweating continuously. I don't have short, even in the short time, I'll have the same thing. Okay, so if this condition is going to continue, then you don't have to wait until the end of the time. So he says, La mania, there's no problem with the hypothesis mentioned, or the scenario mentioned in the question. Uh, uh, there's no problem for the scenario mentioned in the question. There's no problem in taking a part of the handkerchief and wiping gradually, okay, this and this one, not like this. No, wipe this area, wipe this area, two spots, in a way that it's sufficient for masah. What is sufficient for the masah upon it. إذا كان المحرم, number 15, then we have two more and we are done. إذا كان المحرم لا يتأكد من غسل وجهه بتمام في الوضوء إلا إذا غسل معه جزءا من مقدم رأسه فهل يجوز له الجف. Same thing. When you do the wudu, you wash some part of the head. Okay. So now you want to do masah. The water is now on your masah. When you are washing the head, like you're washing the head from here. So you pour the water here, the water went on the masah area. So what would you do? Because you have to start from here above. I have the same problem with the bald people. So my hair liner average is here. The hair has gone behind. So this is the average. So I have to wash a bit above the average liner. So what if I'm going to do the masah? It's going to mix the water of masah with my water of the thing. So he says that he says washing the face is not dependent on allowing the water to reach, allowing the wetness to reach ila to the entire 1/4 frontal, 1/4 head, 1/4 frontal, frontal 1/4 of the head, or sorry, front, because you can divide the head into four things. Like if you make an X, so you have one triangle here, quarter, one triangle here, one. This is where the masah area is, the frontal triangle. So what he says is, excuse me, you don't have to put the water all the way to the front. No, small part of it. Why are you putting the water here in the place of masah? So washing the face for wudu does not depend on allowing the on allowing the making the water reach, or allowing the water to reach the entire 1/4 frontal area of the head. بل يبقى عادة بمقدار ما يبقي عادة. بل يبقى عادة بمقدار أو يبقي عادة بمقدار ما يجزي المسح عليه. Normally, when people even they include some part of the head or hair, they leave this much part of masah like this. In this much part, they leave it. They don't bring the water of wudu all the way till here. ولكن لو فرض تبلل الرأس وضيق الوقت. Let's say hypothetically, the head became wet and the time is narrowed. يجوز له أن يجفف. Then it will be permissible for him to wipe it, okay, gradually, not all the way. No, gradually. First this portion, then this portion. And I said, if you just don't don't pass it over, it will be better. Just make it like this, like this, like this, because you want to soak the water in your handkerchief to dry it. يجوز أن يجفف بطرف المنديل part of the handkerchief ونحو تدريجيا gradually بمقدار ما يجزي المس in an amount which is sufficient for the wiping of the head. 16. Again, the wudu. إذا تيسر المحرم المتوضئ تنشيف موضع المسح مسح من رأسه بيده الجافة فهل يجوز له تنشيفه بطرف المنديل؟ If he can, let's say his hand is dry, he can use his hand. Remember the beginning of the ruling? What did he say? Ruling number 262, that he can cover his head with part of the body. Remember Tai Chi exercise, guy whose legs are here or is in between his knees or something like that. So body part, you can use body part, but not cloth. You can use body part to wipe your head. So he says that in that case, if a muhrim person can wipe his head, okay, wipe the area of wiping the head, okay, if you can dry the area of wiping the head with his hand, dry hand, then is it possible? Is it permissible for him to then use the handkerchief, like we said, gradually and that? He said, no. لا يجوز على الأحوط. It is not permissible on the basis of obligatory precaution. How can I do like that? Let's think of a scenario. So I'm now doing wudu. I need to do masah. So I have wetness here. So I can think of 2 scenarios. Maybe you can think of 10 scenarios. Scenario number 1, before doing the wudu, I dry my hand with whatever is it, and I just dry my head. Okay? Because body parts, you can use it to cover your head. So done. Your head is dry. Now you do wudu, bismillah. The other part, he's doing the wudu, and once he wants to do, whoopsie daisy, there's water in my head, okay, on the masa area. No problem. This area, okay, you can bring something, hold it like this, the way you are keeping this for your feet, okay. You're wiping like this area, and then wipe your head. Dry out your wetness, and then do your masah. Whatever way you want to do masah or you're doing, it doesn't any specific way, obligation. You can do like this, you can do like this, you can do like this. So, but don't do like this, because this has already been dried. Use it to dry your the frontal area. So you see that masah area, even after wudu, no problem. You have to be improviser. By knowing these rules, okay, I can use my hand. I don't need my all hand for wiping the head. I need just this much part to wipe my head and feet, or maybe this much for head and this much for feet. So I can use this portion, okay, to just wipe it out with the water and just do it like that. But you cannot use the hand. هل يجوز المحرم أن يضع يده على وجهه? Can a muhrim person place his hand on his face كما يجوز له ستره بغير يديه as it is permissible for him. So yeah, it is permissible him to cover his face. Okay, muhrim person to cover his face with his hand. It is so يجوز له ذلك كما يجوز له ستره بغير يديه. Even he can cover it with anything. That's for ladies. For female, it is not allowed to cover the face. But guys, they can cover the face. And then we have وضع الأب يده على رأسه. You have a son who's doing Umrah with you, okay, and he's muhrim and you're muhrim. You say, ah, mashallah, very well done. Baba, I'm muhrim, you're covering my head. Whoopsie daisy, sorry. Can that scenario cause a kafara if it was done intentionally? هل وضع الأبي, is the placing of the hand of the father on the head of the son who has reached the age of puberty, to prevent. Oh, so this is to prevent the sun rays from reaching his head. Subhanallah, the fatherhood and the motherhood, there's nothing like it. His father cares about his son. Maybe he's allowing the head to be burned to ashes, but his son, no, he should not be harmed. So yu'ad min satir ras. Is it considered from the prohibited covering the head? Na'am al ahwat. Yes, obligatory precaution. You should not put your hand on the head of your son. But it is hand, his body part. We said your body part for your head, his body part for his head. Okay, it's your body part now you're putting on his head. He has covered something without his body part, because the text is more specific on your body part. Yadayhi, his hand. Okay, yes, on the base obligatory precaution. What does that mean? Should I let my son die? No. Then we have the exemptions of necessity, exemptions of sickness. But we are talking about without any exemption cause. And 19 says the shower. Can I have a shower in the state of ihram? Uh, for male and female. إذا كان يضخ الماء, if the water was gushing forcefully, يجوز, it is permissible. It is not the force, the quality, it is the quantity coming out. And how is it coming out? Is it coming out broadly like that big pipe, or big shower which the holes are big, and it is considered like when it comes down it becomes like a big column of water? That is what was prohibited. Okay, so he says it's permissible. لو رمى, if a muhrim person immerses his head in the water, then does he have to pay the penalty of the sheep on the basis of obligatory precaution, which is required in covering the head? He says, نعم يشمله. Yes, it is inclusive. That means the penalty is inclusive to covering, immersing the head. Covering the penalty of covering head is inclusive to covering the immersing the head in the water. And ruling number 21, question number 21 says, if somebody does cover his head multiple times, okay, um, is it going to be multiple kafara? Does multiple covering of the head in the state of ihram necessitates or causes multiple penalty? He says, لا يبعد عدم التكرار. For me, it is not far away that there's no requirement to repeat. That repetition is not required according to me. Okay, according to my understanding and my deduction. ودف so وكفاية كفارة واحدة لكل إحرام. One إحرام, one كفارة. إحرام of Umrah, entire إحرام of Umrah, several times you covered, one kafara for one covering. Okay, that means I can cover next time and third time. Yeah, but then it's a sin. It's one of the prohibitions. Okay, it doesn't mean that kafara means you got a freebie or exemption, or you bribed na'udhu billah Allah. Now you can cover as many times. No, you there's one penalty, but whenever you cover, obviously you're committing haram. لو غطى المحرم رأسه ودفع الكفارة ثم غطاه. Let's say I covered my head. I paid penalty. I covered again. Will I have to pay another penalty? He says ثم غطاه مرة أخرى فهل عليه الاحتياط بأداء كفارة أخرى? Another penalty. لا يبعد عدم وجوبها مرة أخرى. No. We said one ihram, one penalty. You gave your penalty, After that, you did this thing again, then that first penalty is sufficient. However, ولكن لا يجوز له ذلك من دون عذر. However, it is not permissible for him to do repetition without excuse. And finally, لو ستر المحرم رأسه بما يحرم لبسه من الثوب المخيط فلا عليه كفارتان. Let's say covered with a dress, okay, a stitched dress. So does he have two kafaras? Kafara of covering and kafara of wearing the stitched dress without any necessity. Okay. He says نعم على الأحوط on the basis of obligatory precaution. إذا كان يلبس ما يحرم عليه لبسه, if he is going to wear. See, even the notion of the questioner is stitched. Answer of the Sayyidi Sistani doesn't have stitch in it. Okay. It is whatever considered dress, be it stitched or unstitched. So he says, نعم على الأحوط, on yes, on the basis of obligatory precaution. إذا كان يلبس ما يحرم عليه لبسه من الثياب. If he was going to wear whatever is prohibited, the dress for him to wear. So whatever is prohibited for him to wear from dresses. Okay. So he did not, he ignored the word stitched. Because remember, we did this, the stitching. Say the Sistani is a broader meaning of wearing a dress in the state of ihram, regardless of being stitched. So he says, Sayyidina, like what? Min al-thiyab, kal amama, like this amama. Amama is not stitched, but it is a dress. Wal qulunsuwa, this one. Some of the caps, they are not stitched. Like this one, subhanallah. This machine made. I don't see any connection of stitch. Yeah, there is one connection here, but it's not stitched. It's machine kind of thing. Whatever. So anyhow, stitched or not stitched, say this is says it's a dress. Well, qulunsuwa. This is called qulunsuwa. I don't know what you call it. Cap. Okay, prayer cap or Muslim cap. دون ما إذا لم يكن كذلك. So whatever is prohibited to wear, yes, there'll be kafara. كما لو وضع قميصه على رأسه. Let's say he puts his shirt on his head. He doesn't wear it, he puts it. So he's not wearing it. We said in the cold weather, he can wear inversely, all those rules we mentioned. So he wears it. He doesn't wear it, he just puts it like this on the head. There's no problem in it, okay? Because he's not wearing it. It's qamis, yeah, but it's not. But what about amama? It's an amama. It's wearing amama. What about qulunsuwa, Muslim cap or prayer cap? It is considered a cap. It is wearing. It's a wearing dress thing. كما final question. هل تثبت الكفارة المحرم في تغطية بعض رأسه? What if intentionally some part of the head was covered? Is the kafara going to be obligated? Yes, on the basis of obligatory precaution. So let's say you just covered the head intentionally, deliberately, khalas, sheep goes from your pocket. So we covered this, inshallah, and we are going to take 20, which is the covering of the face for the women in our next session. I'm not showing you the slide because slides are a bit complicated, but you can always follow. Go to sistani.org, open Manasik al-Hajj. If you are doing Annex, go to Annex Mulhaq. If you are doing the text of the Manasik rulings, open the rulings and try to tally. You might find some problems in translation in some of the areas, as I mentioned in the beginning when we started this course. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله الطيبين